So I read your book,
Yeah?
Ali in Wonderland. I love the title, Ali Wentworth. And I see you like, you are sort of diving into a teacup.
Yes. Well, I went to the photo shoot, and HarperCollins wanted to do a spoof on Alice in Wonderland, and they thought,
Yeah.
I could wear, an Alice in Wonderland outfit and maybe
Yeah.
have a rabbit. And I said, no. And I said, I'm from a long line of WASPs, white Anglo-Saxon
That's right,
Protestants,
yes.
who drink tea. I said, I want to cannonball into a cup of tea.
Yes.
So everybody kind of scrambled, and they went out and got a bathing suit. I said, not a bikini. And I was on a trampoline all day going, 1, 2, 3, ooh.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
So how much of a splash do you expect to make?
With the book?
No, with the teacup. Going into a teacup.
Well, I wanted to make a big
swimming
splash.
pool, I can.
I mean,
yes.
if you can see in terms of how big I am in the teacup, I would probably hit the bottom very quickly, and I'd say 99% of the tea would fly out.
Given you're very much into politics, do you have an opinion about the fact the Department of Justice is suing Apple and publishers for fixing prices on ebooks?
Oh my God, is this 60 Minutes? I actually have to read more about this story.
Yeah.
But as long as I get a commission off my book, I don't care what they do.
Right, writing a bio now.
Well, I didn't set out to write a memoir at all. It was very specifically a book about crazy stuff my mother has said to me. So all the stories were pulled from, having my mother having something like a great little gem to say to me, or really bad advice. So it wasn't a memoir. So people always say it's a memoir, but I actually, I could write another book about just stuff my sister said. You know what I mean? So I don't really think of it as a memoir, because I agree with you. I don't think, I'm not making some statement that my life is over because I've written.
Well, I wasn't implying that.
I have at least 50 years to go.
You often refer yourself as a loose cannon. Mm-hmm. How does a loose cannon write a book?
When I got the deal to write a book, my husband got his job at GMA. So instantly I had to sell our house, buy a new place in a new city, get my kids into school. So I called HarperCollins and said, you're not going to see this book for a while. I have a whole ritual on writing, which is the kids have to be out of the house. I have to straighten up. Then I have like my 4th cup of tea. Then I have some Milk Duds. Then I watch TV for a while. Then I get in front of the computer. Then I go to jcrew.com or CNN.com, and then I surf the web. And then I'll write. So I probably write half a page a day.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rituals that go with it.
Did you have an outline, or you just went by stream of consciousness, wherever it pop up, you just write it out?
I didn't have an outline. I did it sort of story by story.
Okay.
And then we cut a lot of stories at the end. I did it with my editor. I would send her pages, and they would come back, and she would just say, I think you can come up with a funnier ending. When we cut things, it was, we both would agree it doesn't really fit with the book, or one story was a little too dark, or, so you start to, the more you write and you put the stories together, you realize the tone of it and what works and what doesn't.
I felt like the tone was shifting from the beginning to the end, especially when you reach your 30s. Mm-hmm. The story become more family orientated as opposed to this big epic and saga in California. And there seemed to be a lot of structure as well in your childhood.
You grow up. I ended up marrying somebody that represented everything I ran away from in D.C., and now I have a very structured life for my children. So my daughter's going to camp, but she's not going to sleepaway camp. So she keeps saying to me, why can't I go to sleepaway camp? Yeah. And I go, it's not about you, it's about me. I can't handle it. I'll cry all summer.
Your sister seems to, her illness in her childhood seems to, I thought that chapter was very moving.
With her spine.
With her spine, yes.
It's a perfect example of somebody who, she was a more serious child. Mm-hmm. And we were in a situation where she had this horrible operation, a spinal fusion. Yes. So she has a metal rod in her back, and she's in a body cast. And she's miserable. She's 17, which is the worst age to have any kind of physical difference from the other kids. And she was so miserable that was a perfect moment where I had to use the only skills I knew how. And I wasn't the kid that would say, are you okay? Can I make you a cupcake? You know, that wasn't my thing, but I thought the only thing I can do is try to make her laugh. And, you know, it worked. And
again, in a tragedy, you find that.
Yes. 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 And without exploiting the tragedy, but more pulling her out of it. And, you know, she's very funny now. She always says, people say to her, "Oh, are you as funny as your sister?" And she always says, "No, I'm the opposite."
Talking about tragedy, I mean, you can tell the people are going to be watching us the story of 9/11. You were just moving from California to New York, and what happened?
Well, I was engaged to be married, and we had rented an apartment, and we were looking for a place to live in New York. And the news, you know, the 9/11 hit, and I had an interview at CNN that day, and I woke up and I turned on the TV, and I was not awake yet. I was making coffee, and kind of, George had already gone to work, and I kept seeing this plane hit a building, and I thought it was some bad movie. I mean, I thought it was a Jerry Bruckheimer movie. You know, I was waiting to see Nicolas Cage or Tom Cruise or somebody go flying in. Because it just didn't seem real. This is not, it's not an image I'd ever seen before, and you know, you never think it's real. And then, especially on TV. And then I turned the channel, and it was just on every channel, and obviously there was something going on. And I'm not sure if I wrote about this in my book, but you know, the phone lines, the phone lines were dead. There was no communication, but my mother she's able to get through on my cell phone. And she's always had this kind of crazy philosophy that in any time you're in trouble, or you go to the Four Seasons. You just go to the Four Seasons. That's like a safety net. So I said to George, "We have to go to the Four Seasons." And he said, "What are you talking about? We're not going to the Four Seasons. It's downtown. We're not going towards." And I said, you know, it's so ingrained in me. I said, "We have to go to the Four Seasons." So we go, and it's still something George makes fun of to this day. But, you know, there have been other tragedies in my life where I just went to the Four Seasons. And, yeah, it was the craziest thing in retrospect, but it was so ingrained in me.
Do you still go to the Four Seasons?
No. One of the best times I had was doing that show, Head Case, where I played a shrink. And the reason I loved it was I, you know, created it and started it, so I had full control of it creatively, and also it was unscripted.
Not even a nut line?
Yeah, no.
Wow.
Nothing. There's no paper at all. I like that in the moment thing. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. When I did the Drake Dramus film, he would say, "This is the idea for the scene. This is what I want to happen." But he didn't write lines, and we could just improvise. And that was great.